Good morning, everybody. My name is John. It is Wednesday, March 21st, and you're riding with me on my morning drive. For the next 20 to 30 minutes or so, we're going to be talking politics, as usual. All right, it is a post-Romney landslide Wednesday. The old Omnibot 2012 pulled it off, managed to get quite a bit of separation in between him and Frothy Santorum. And then, of course, Mr. Irrelevant Ron Paul and Mr. Windbag Newt Gingrich brought up the rear with probably around between 7 to 10% each. Not sure what the final numbers were on those two losers. But anyway, that's the quick synopsis of the GOP primary. So, that's about unimportant compared to the whole Trayvon Martin case, which is such a atrocity. I mean, I just cannot get over how this guy didn't get arrested. Holy cow, what in the heck is this idiot doing? But it looks like now the FBI and the Department of Justice have become involved, and there's going to be a grand jury, and more than likely George Zimmerman's going to be arrested, which I can't. There's either A, something that's not being said, or B, there's a racist, favoritist police department in Sanford. And I have a feeling it's the latter, because Trayvon Martin's girlfriend was on the phone with him during the whole incident, all the way up to right before he was shot. And there's no indication that he was doing anything wrong. This guy just had a wild hair up his ass. As neighborhood watch captain, I guess he figured, he must just feel the need to get his cop on. Excuse me. So anyways, I mean, at this point, thankfully there's petitions. There's a national rally that's going on. Please sign any and all petitions, and please try to attend the rally if you can. It's going to be in Sanford. It's going to be a national rally for Trayvon Martin, for justice for him. I mean, this is just ridiculous that these stupid gun laws in Florida were passed and they can allow situations like this to occur. I mean, this is a gross distortion of the law. Our legal system is basically almost, well, at least according to these idiots that are involved right now, our legal system is pretty much powerless to do anything against situations like this. So that means what? You can just say that you saw a black kid or a black person walking around in your neighborhood and they look suspicious and you felt uncomfortable or threatened, and then at that point you're allowed to just shoot them and not be even arrested? I mean, really? Is that what it's come to? Is that the NRA's vision of utopia? That, because this is all ALEC and the NRA. And for those of you who don't know who ALEC is the American Legislative Exchange Council. Basically, the Koch brothers funded, excuse me, the Koch brothers funded legislative writing machine. They turn out nothing but right-wing, pro-corporation, pro-wealthy legislation, and all these idiot GOP teabagger dipshits have to do is sign their name to them and say, yeah, here, cha-ching, here's your next campaign contribution, cha-ching. Sign this one. More cash for your campaign. Sign this one. So that's basically what we're up against. I mean, the Democrats, the progressives especially, need to pull their head out of their butt and freaking get this shit squared away. I mean, we got to do something. You've got to fight this, man. This is just, it's snowballing. Thankfully, the Wisconsin recalls are going well. if Scott Walker doesn't get let out in handcuffs because of the John Doe investigation of some of his shenanigans during the election and other times, then hopefully he'll be recalled. I mean, at this point, one of the four state senators in Wisconsin who was going to be up for recall resigned. So there's now a tie in the state legislature in Wisconsin, which means that the lieutenant governor, who's also up for recall, come June 5th, is when all the recall elections happen, for those of you who didn't already know. He's the tiebreaker. So the one thing, however, that does work in our favor, aside from the fact that there's now a tie, is Dale Schultz, a Republican, tends to agree. I don't know if he tends to vote, because it takes an awful lot for these Republicans to vote against their own. But he tends to agree with Democrats on a lot of issues, especially labor issues, which is good, because that's what was really being attacked, is organized labor. I mean, Scott Walker was Mr. Union Buster, still is Mr. Union Buster. And speaking of union busting and corrupt assholes, Paul Ryan, aka Eddie Munster, just came out with his new 2013 budget. And it's eerily familiar. It's very similar to last year's quote unquote path to prosperity, which I like to call the road to ruin. But, you know, one of our Blue America candidates, Nicholas Ruiz, I made a joke yesterday about that budget being the road to ruin, and what we really need is the road to Ruiz. And that's kind of a microcosm of, you know, my feelings on the whole matter. Is we've got to elect New Deal Democrats, progressive New Deal Democrats to the Congress. We've got to take the House back, because if we can just take the House back, this is all irrelevant. If we take the House back, we don't have to suffer through any more of John Boehner's stupid bullshit, psychobabble, or crying, or whatever the hell else he's doing when he's freaking liquored up that day and been on the golf course. And his emotions are running high for whatever reason. He's a freaking mess. Or this nonsense of Paul Ryan coming out with some budget like he's, you know, and these stupid Republicans that are just that you know, that Fox News does nothing but shovel shit into their brain, and they freaking lap it up like it's, you know, gourmet food or something. No more of this, you know, Paul Ryan's an American hero, Paul Ryan this, Paul Ryan that. You know what? Let me give you a little bit of insight on this whole Paul Ryan thing. First of all, yesterday they were saying that this budget may not even make it out of the House Budget Committee, of which Paul Ryan is the head, which is why his dumb ass gets to make up these stupid, freaking asinine budgets. So the reason why it may not make it out of the House Budget Committee, which means it might die on the vine, is because there are 3 Republicans who are actually, if you can believe this, who are actually to the right of Paul Ryan, who are upset because the budget doesn't because it doesn't balance the budget in time, or within a reasonable time frame. Get this, the Paul Ryan budget doesn't balance for 25 years. They want it in 10. Bill Clinton, in a bipartisan effort with Republicans back in the 90s, they balanced the budget in like 5 years. Why is this so difficult for the Republicans to come up with a budget that balances the budget in less than 25 years? Gee, I wonder why that is. Well, why don't we go through a few of the highlights of the budget. Your favorite corporate tax cuts and tax cuts for the wealthy amount to $3 trillion in this budget. Because we really desperately need those tax cuts, because business and corporations and wealthy people are doing so horribly that they need even more tax cuts, because for the last 10 years we've been giving them huge tax cuts, and it's been working so wonderfully to get unemployment down and to create jobs, right? Yeah, no. No. Sorry. You can try selling that brand, but we're not buying any of that anymore, because that brand sucks. That brand is the freaking generic Walmart brand, and it sucks. We want a better quality brand, one that cares for people. The other thing, increases military spending. Like we need that, like we need a hole in our head. We need to be looking at ways to cut the defense budget, to cut out the pork, to cut out all the wasteful spending, to cut out spending on Cold War weapons that we no longer use, that are doing nothing more than subsidizing and providing welfare to defense contractors, aka cronyism, buddies. Come on. And the piece de la resistance is it cuts Medicare just like last year's. It basically guts Medicare and makes cuts to Medicaid, food stamps, and unemployment. Are you fucking kidding me with this? Yeah, the rest of the country is going to love this, Paul. Just keep going with the same dead horse, just like you dumb fucks keep going with the same dead horse economic policies that failed us for 8 years under Bush and for the last 22 of 30 years under Reaganomics. Your economic policies suck and they don't work. It's been proven over and over and over again. How many times do we have to prove that Reaganomics do not fucking work? They don't work. If they were a science experiment, the lab would be shut down and the funding would be revoked. Come on, look at the freaking results. Look at the quantifiable data, the results. Outside of Bill Clinton, what is our fiscal record? It's been huge debts and deficits, huge military spending, sometimes warranted, sometimes, most of the time, not warranted. I mean, come on, people, wake up. What are you people thinking that are voting Republican? Come on, don't vote for abortion. Don't vote for gay marriage. Don't vote on some stupid red herring issue because the stakes are too high. They've been too high since Obama was elected. And when Obama was elected, I thought for sure Republicans were going to say, you know what, now's really not the time. We really need to try to put these political issues aside and not get stuck on them and figure out how to really sit down with Democrats and come up with solutions that everybody can be happy with, because the stakes are so high. Our country's on the verge of collapse from an economic standpoint and from other standpoints. Surely we can do... No. They double down. They triple down. They quadruple down. They say, oh no, we're going to continue to play petty games, and Mitch McConnell, or talking turtle, decides that the number one legislative priority of the Senate and the Republican side is going to be to make President Obama a one-term president. Fucking talking turtle. That asshole needs to go. And I think Harry Reid probably needs to go too. We need to maintain a Senate majority and build a Senate majority, actually, that doesn't include Joe Loose Cannon Lieberman, but includes progressive Democrats that we can actually count on in times of need, when we need to pass crucial legislation. And you might ask, what do you mean by that? Obama had a 60-vote majority when he first came in. What was he doing? Why didn't he do anything? Blah, 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 blah. Well, I got some freaking news for you, people. So for those of you who don't pay attention to nuance, the nuance of it is, and this is the problem with too many voters nowadays, is they don't pay attention to nuance. And nuance is probably the most important thing. Because with nuance, you catch a lot of things that you wouldn't otherwise catch. So pay attention, people. Obama had a 60-vote majority in the Senate, yes, but that majority included Joe Loose Cannon Lieberman, as I've said before, and it also included blue dog Democrats, such as Ben Nelson, Heath Schuler, Mary Landrieu. And because of jerk-offs like that, we had to throw them a bone on certain things. Give them sweet backdoor deals, which of course the Republicans are using against the Democrats and the Obama administration now, because they want to cry no transparency, even though they're the kings of no transparency. But what this comes back to is nuance. Okay, if we would have had progressive Democrats, like say Alan Grayson, who lost re-election in 2010 because of low Democratic voter turnout. Say we would have had, instead of those 5 blue dog Democrats like like Blanche Lincoln and Mary Landrieu and Ben Nelson and all them, if we'd have, instead of them, say we had a bunch of Alan Graysons in there, you know what you would have gotten out of that? In the healthcare legislation vote, you would have gotten a public option, and you would have gotten a much more, or at the very least, Medicare for all, and we would have gotten a much more robust healthcare reform. But instead, we had to water it down, and then we have what we have now, which everybody loves to, rag on, and the Republicans want to repeal Obamacare, which it's called the Affordable Care Act. I wish they could call it something without vilifying everything. But that's where we're at. I mean, it's nuance. It's things like that. We've got to elect progressive Democrats into our legislation and take back the House, especially. And we won't have these kinds of idiotic budgets coming out that do nothing but balance the budget by giving the haves that much more and taking away even more money from the have-nots. Why do we want that? We don't want that. That's the problem right now. We've been doing that for too long. And that's what we've got to get through to the American people. I mean, if you look at the polls on taxing the rich, preserving entitlements, and a number of other issues, what you find is that the majority of the country, like in the 70s and 80s, between 70 and 80%, sometimes even in the 80s, which is unheard of in modern political polling, it polls favorably. So why wouldn't we want to do these things, these basic fairness things, like unemployment, which, by the way, in case all of you out there aren't familiar, unemployment is the absolute best stimulus that you could possibly put out there. It's about a 6-to-1 return on your investment, whereas tax cuts are a lot lower, maybe 2-to-1. And the Republicans, of course, they just don't seem to care about that. And they also don't seem to care about the majority, because if they cared about the majority, then they would be doing the things that the majority want them to do. And instead, they're doing all these narrow-minded things like giving tax cuts to people who don't need it. And that's what I mean by fairness. So if we elect people to the House and take the House back from these jerks like John Boehner and Paul Ryan, then we would not have to listen to things like the path to prosperity, which is a complete farce. It's basically Paul Ryan trying to work on his sheep's costume, because the man is a wolf in sheep's clothing. He always has been and he always will be, and he's nothing but a corporate shill. I mean, the guy is obviously, he's nothing but a walking campaign contribution collector. I mean, that's all he does. It's obvious. I mean, look who he's emboldened to. I mean, look what the guy does. He does nothing but come up with these budgets that hurt everybody that don't need to be hurt and help everybody that doesn't need to be helped. How is that doing anything? So the only way to stop this nonsense is to take back the House. So having said that, we need to focus not only on the presidential election, because it's absolutely important that we get Obama elected, but I think even more importantly is that we focus on congressional candidates, House and the Senate. And that means looking at Blue America, blueamerica.crooksandliars.com. Go there. You'll see a list of all the candidates. There's 16 of them at this point. Those are all progressive New Deal Democrats endorsed by Blue America. Those are the kind of people we need in Congress to give us the majorities that will allow the president to work in his second term on a progressive agenda. And we've got to hold his feet to the fire when it comes to a progressive agenda. And I guarantee you, if you get him the climate and you put the legislation on his desk, he'll sign it. And if he doesn't, then we need to frickin' hammer his ass. I'll be the first one to be hammering his ass. And you can hold me to that. If you like to discuss or you would like me to bring up an issue, by all means, email me at mymorningdrive@shredoftruth.com, and make sure to visit our website at shredoftruth.com and get involved in the conversation. There's plenty of news stories, there's editorials and everything. You click on the comments, leave your comments. I'd like to hear what everybody's thinking out there. Maybe we can interact and try to come up with solutions, come up with innovative ideas to get people elected, because obviously money is only so much of it. I mean, and granted, yes, money is pouring in from the other side, but that's why we've got to be ingenious, and we've got to come up with grassroots way or ways to creatively win these elections, because we can't afford to sit back on the sidelines and just say, oh, I don't believe in the two-party system like some of these Occupy idiots do. Not that I don't support Occupy. I love Occupy, but some of these people in Occupy are dumb. They're, oh, I don't believe in the two-party system. I'm not voting for any of them. Okay, well, great. You just sit on the sideline and don't vote, and then you'll get a GOP president and see how that goes. If you think that Obama's bad, you wait till you get a GOP president. Because if you want to get campaign finance done, lobbyist reform done, or any of that stuff done, you at least have a shred of hope to have it done with Obama. I think there's a lot more than a shred of hope. I think there's actually a very good chance, provided the legislation came to his desk. However, if you get a GOP candidate in there, they don't want campaign finance reform. Are you kidding me? They love this. They love all these billionaires and Republican corporations pouring millions and millions of dollars into their campaign. Because why? Because that's the only way that they can win. Look at Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is having a hard-ass time beating a couple of dumb whack jobs like Newt Gingrich and Rick Santorum, and he's spending 5 and 6 to 1 in terms of dollars against these guys just to barely beat these guys. I mean, Illinois was a pretty big margin of win, but that's way out of the norm. For the most part, so far, these have been pretty close elections. And you're going to tell me that Mitt Romney has to spend 7 to 1 in a state to beat whack job Santorum? How in the hell do you think he's going to do when he gets into the general election? He's spending all his money now. I mean, yeah, granted, those millionaires and billionaires, they're going to open their pockets even more. But the fact of the matter is if he can't hardly beat these guys, good luck against Obama, dude. But make sure, and please, if you're thinking about this, getting stuff done by osmosis or sitting on the sidelines and not voting for Obama because he's done this or he hasn't done that, why don't you take a look at what the GOP is saying and what they're planning to do? Go look at these guys' websites and look at their platform. People like Mitt Romney wants to do away with Planned Parenthood. People in the audience saying that, I need free birth control because it's part of my family planning and I can't afford it otherwise. And Mitt Romney's response was, well, if you want free stuff, vote for the other guy. Okay, I will. I mean, that's the thing that's so screwed up about it. Women, there should not be one woman on this planet that should want Mitt Romney to win or should want the GOP to win, because there's a concerted, coordinated war on women by the GOP right now. And the fact that I'm a little fired up this morning about this whole, nonsense that people are just going to get their panties in a bunch about Obama not having done this little issue or that, or he signed some, thing in the law that lets him detain American citizens. You know what? That shit's been going on for the last 8 years, and you haven't heard anything crazy happening in this country. It's not like people are being rounded up and thrown into concentration camps. If that were the case, then I would agree. But nobody that I know or have ever seen civil rights are being violated by Obama. So, that's something that people just get so hung up on. It's another red herring. And we don't need to focus on that right now. What we need to focus on is the big picture and all the different factors that are involved in what the president could do in the next 4 years. So we need to think about that and stay focused on that. So today I'm not going to say anything about the Obama administration bad, even though I generally like to say something that I have an issue with the Obama administration, just to let everybody know that I'm not, hook, line, and sinker. I've got the ability to have some independent thoughts when it comes to the Obama administration. I'm not completely smitten. I'm realistic. And I have issues with the man. However, I think we've got way more issues with the GOP candidates. But I got to get going. It was great talking to you on my ride this morning, and thanks for letting me get everything off my chest. And again, if you've got any issues you'd like to discuss, comments or suggestions, by all means, please shoot me an email, mymorningdrive@shredoftruth.com, and make sure to visit our website at shredoftruth.com. I'm out of here.